And we're switching over to a power conversation now and seeing what happens when things are upgraded. And our guest for the hour is no stranger to us again. Isaac Ndereva is here this morning, and we're going to be discussing some of those things as concerns what happens really with your token meter when it is upgraded. Isaac Ndereva is here. Isaac, good morning.
Good morning.
Isaac is Executive Director and of the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya, an electricity billing analyst. Okay. There are certain things that have been happening with power here and there. That's the kind of power we're talking about, not this other kind of power that we all want, right? Before we do that, CT is going to welcome you today with today's proverb.
Proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Union of the Comoros. A beggar will not mind being insulted. A beggar who cannot take insults will go hungry.
What do you think, Isaac?
That's quite true because, you see, a beggar, most likely the people who want to abuse you, Matusi, most likely are because you depend on them. And so if you decide to be maskini jeuri, then you will go hungry. Yeah, so, and those people most of the people who are normally around people and they don't mind being abused, it's because they know what they are reaping from those people. So as a result, if you don't want to be abused, then and you are a beggar, then you will have to know where to get what you need to eat. I think basically that is what it says. Although it's also a long one. Yeah.
The insults come with the territory, perhaps?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Comoros, basically, there are many. We normally have different countries. Comoros, I think, is in which side? Is it West Africa?
East
Africa?
Yes. In the Indian Ocean.
Ah, okay.
Islands in the Indian
We have islands in West Africa. That's in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
That's Cabo Verde, Sao Tome, Principe. Those are in the Atlantic Ocean. But Comoros, Madagascar, Mauritius, that's East Africa, and they're all in the Indian Ocean.
I've not heard much about the politics of Comoros, maybe.
Well, it has its politics, I assure you. And as you say, it's an independent country with an interesting history. The French colonized it at some point before it got independence. But it is composed of 4 separate islands, and these islands are volcanic islands. So, again, a very interesting place. Many of these islands that are in the ocean started off as stopping or trading posts. One during the slave trade era, and even when that came to an end, you're talking about the spice trade that took people to India and other such places, and that is how the economies started growing. And the countries that landed there and decided to take a little interest and grounding, they became the colonizers. That is until those countries then got their independence.
Good.
Okay,
right.
So Isaac, a couple of months ago, we saw a spirited campaign to tell everybody to upgrade their token meters.
Yes.
And you seem to think that there's something beyond just upgrading the meter?
Not really, actually. I think the most important thing is because it has not been a very smooth journey for most people. First of all, the campaign was launched on 12th June, and it's supposed to be ending on August 31st. And that is what Kenya Power have decided to launch or to operate that kind of an operation. So, but basically, there are several problems people are facing as they, Kenya Power, when they're advertising, they just pretend like it's a very easy thing to do. But people have really suffered. There are people who have bought tokens, they can't feed them into the system, they don't know what the problem is. And other people have been sent messages that is not related to the meter that they are using. So those are the things that I think it's important to clarify to the people, the users.
Okay.
But maybe the first thing is to ask, why are we doing what we are doing? Is it really necessary? Could we have lived without updating them or whatever we are doing? And what exactly is being updated? Is it because there are even people who think that when the thing you key in the numbers, the one that has 2 digits, they think that is a meter, but that is not the meter. That is called a CIU, or Consumer Interface Unit. The real meter is what is normally at the panel where you may be having the main switch or something to break. That is what we are updating. It's not this CIU. But we are using the CIU to update it because it's the one that has the digits. So even if you get a different CIU later, your meter has been updated. So because that is basically the meter. But then we are updating that because the system that we were using was designed in 1993. Even if we started using the token meters the other day, like 2013, 2015, it had started in 1993. The designer decided that this is going to work for 30 years. And so that years were ending in 2023. So we have to update. And it is not only us, it's the whole world. In fact, South Africa have already finished. Zambia have already finished. They had about 2,000 meters. Remember, for us, we have about 7.6 million meters in Kenya. We have so far, by yesterday, we had updated up to 4.8 million. So we still have about 2.8 remaining. But even with those 4.8, we still have problems that we already had because of different issues.
What are the problems? I just want to go back to one of the things that you said.
Yes.
In terms of updating your meter, because so we saw the messages that came out, the campaign started.
Yeah.
But then it got to some point whereby if you were going to purchase tokens,
yes,
they would send you the codes.
Yeah.
So in order for you to then key in the token that you had purchased, you then needed to enter the update code.
Yes.
And it's actually very simple.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you enter the code, it updates the thing, you put in your token number, and voila, there you are. So are people having issues with it?
They are having issues because I'll tell you one thing. You might be in the same house for a long time. So basically you use the same phone to purchase the tokens. So who will be sent that message? It's the number that has been purchasing those tokens. What happens if you have moved from where you are living and someone else has come in? Most likely you'll be the one to be sent a message. And then you'll get that message with a code. The one for reset code and the one for update code. So if you have no use because you have moved from that house, the person who comes in, what happens is that they have nothing, they don't have a code, they can't key in the tokens. You see, that is the issue. But now what they have done is that Kenya Power have decided to intentionally send you the code only when you purchase those tokens, such that you are the one who needs to feed. Yes. So you need to update. But it happens that you might buy and then you'll be sent a code, but maybe you just buy about 10 units. But then you realize, I will not feed them because I'm going to a different house. You see, you are the one who has received those update codes.
And they wouldn't send them to you again if you made a request?
They would, but basically what they have done, you need to press star 977. Once you press star 977, you'll find a menu that comes, and then it tells you that if it is, for example, you press star 977, then you'll find a menu saying welcome to Kenya Power. Then you will say it's postpaid, prepaid token. Then you press on that one. Then they will ask you on that menu that it will come to up to four items. You will go to the fourth one that says update meter yako. Then once you go to update meter yako, you will press on that, maybe number 4, and then they will ask you which meter. You might find a list of meters there. You've been maybe feeding different meters. You might find them. But in case you do not find the meter you need there, then you can key in the meter number. Once you key in the meter number, then you will get the update codes.
So it's not difficult?
It's not difficult, but people do not know. Because most of the people, you'll find that, I have been buying tokens, but I can't feed. They are saying reject, reject, reject. So many people, those people who have been coming to our offices or calling, they are saying, I've been buying tokens. And those tokens, I can't feed. They are saying reject. And yet it has not been used. Why they are saying reject is because within these 30 years, you see there is a tendency of combining numbers. You'll find the codes that you feed, I think they are either 16 or something. The ones you feed to feed the tokens. Those numbers have been repeated. You see a way you can even think that you can guess and feed. Those have been repeated. In 30 years, definitely you are likely to have started repeating some. So what they have done to update that meter is that you will need to, they will need first erase the previous system such that all the numbers that can be fed after that will be seeing reject, reject, until you now update it so that it can now accept the new set or series of codes or the combinations. That's why every time now, if your meter is scheduled for update, you feed whatever number you feed, it will reject because it has to be upgraded or it has to be updated to now read the system after the 30 years. Now we are maybe going to the next 30 years. I don't know whether we'll still be around to update again. It's a historic moment, I think, for us. You might only do it once in your life.
Well, this information that you're giving us here, has it been out in the public?
I wouldn't say it has been out in the public, because what I normally see with Kenya Power, the adverts on TV, the adverts on the papers and their social media, is a very short one that says you will get 2 codes. You get one, the first code you reset, the next code you update. You see, now they are not telling you what other problems are there in case it
that
doesn't
does not work.
Even in case it doesn't work.
Are there many instances where it doesn't work?
There are many. There are very many, because you even found there is even another person who came to our office and said, I have been feeding a token, and the token is not saying reject, it is saying old. See, now if you have a token that you feed is saying old, it means that you purchased a token, you purchased the first token, you tried to key in, it rejected. You tried to key in again. Remember, you've not received the update code, because maybe they are even scheduling it for update, but they sent a message to a different person. So you might procure a token and then try to feed, but you don't have the update code.
Yes,
So
let me just understand.
Yes.
This updating,
yes,
is it being done sequentially? Meaning,
yes.
Can I simply just update my own meter as and when I want, or must I wait for a specific time?
You have to wait for your meter to be scheduled. You see, they are going. So we have 7.6. So they are scheduling the first 1 million. We do it. Then kama hujafikiwa, you have nothing to do. They have not generated your code.
And I will not have electricity.
No, you will, because they will only deny you access to load if they have scheduled for update. So there is something they do to the system such that they will say,
It's only when I'm scheduled for an update, then I cannot feed into the system.
Yes, but then they will send you the code. Now the problem is when the code has not landed on your phone, it has gone elsewhere.
And yet they have scheduled you.
And yet they have scheduled. So you key in the tokens, they will say reject. Now, it happens that you key in the first one, it rejects, you think that maybe that there is a problem, you buy another one. Then you realize that the first one you bought, as far as you have keyed in maybe the third one in the purchase, whatever, then it updates. Maybe you can even update after you have bought the third one. Whatever you had bought before you have updated, that will read as old. And you can only claim in Kenya Power. You go and write a letter, you need that refund. And a lot of money is going into waste because...
Why refunding it? Why don't they just give you another token which works?
No, it has not. They have not done that in the system. You have to... In fact, just know that in case you overpay Kenya Power, there is no way of getting that refund other than you go and write you fill some form that you need your money back. So that process is long because sometimes maybe you are talking about tokens of 1,000 and you may be in Kisii. You say, that's a lot of money to go to Nairobi. So inaenda kwa waste. So I know a lot of our consumers have lost money in that manner.
Are you saying, Ndereva, that if the unit, the Kenya Power office in Kisii cannot solve this problem for me?
The refund process is going to be long. It's going to be long to an extent. I'm not even sure whether they can refund at that level. I have not seen any Kenya Power office refunding money other than maybe when you come to Steamer Plaza.
But as I said, why should then be no? I mean, if I bought the token and there's a problem with it, it means I want the token.
Yes.
So I'm not asking you to give me money. I'm asking you to give me power.
That's okay, but you see, in their system, that will read as old, and so they have no way of feeding it back into the system. You can only get refund, then they cancel it in the system. And that's a long process. Which the
customer service portal that they have,
yes,
is it responsive to such things? Because surely, if you are bringing this out, it means other people have complained about it.
Many people have complained.
So essentially, that's why I ask the customer service portal, does it help address such matters?
Most of the way I have seen, if you need that assistance, is either you call. Although even calling itself has been a challenge because only about 80% of the calls are successful in terms of addressing what you needed. In fact, even about 80% of the calls will be picked after you, of course, maybe have been there listening for quite a long time. So calling might solve, but again, no. But when you press the code of *977, most likely you're going to address a few issues there.
Sounds to me like Kenya Power needs to do something about their feedback channel. And maybe that needs to be sorted out. So, the question here I think is important is then, how do I actually know if my meter has actually been upgraded? Because I can do, because I did the prompts that come, you do the insert, you reset, etc. Then you can key in your tokens. How can you be sure that your meter has actually been upgraded?
One, as far as it keeps on accepting the tokens.
Okay.
Because the message to upgrade or to update came with a token after you bought. Now, if it accepted that token, that it means it was updated. That is what it means. But again, if in case you have a meter, maybe we just need to go slowly within. Maybe just press, because it's something we can do together. Even City, I don't know whether you can manage to press star 977.
Star 977.
Star 977. Yeah.
All right. Just give me.
Then you I don't know, you call or something. Eh?
No, it says welcome to Kenya Power. Blah blah blah.
Yes, and then Kenya Power. The first menu is what?
Prepaid services, token.
Okay.
Postpaid services, bill.
Token. Go to token.
Buy token, latest token, token details, update meter yako, manage meters.
Now on number 4, update meter yako.
Enter meter number. Good golly, I don't know it off head.
Okay, but you have a list of some meters there?
No.
Okay, so if you put a meter, your meter number, you will find the 2 codes. Doesn't matter whether you've received the message or not. That in case you have not received the message and your token is not feeding, it's saying reject, that is what you need to do.
Okay.
And that is the information that Kenyans do not have, because they keep on calling us and saying that, oh, my meter is not feeding. I don't know the token. The token itself, the token, the CIU. They say this must have been spoiled. I don't know what the issue is. So basically, that is the issue.
Okay.
Yes.
So then you can actually go to your phone and then sort out.
And so you can even sort out for another person. Yes. As far as you key in the meter number.
Okay.
Yes.
So are we okay with bills? I mean, I know we had an issue before and that maybe, bills were going high. We saw that now, again, with the 500 shillings or 1,000 shillings that you buy.
Yes.
You're not getting as much power as you would before. We can't have a power conversation without looking at the cost of power and then what it means as we are moving forward or in some cases backward.
Yeah, I think it's important to always mention something to do with the cost of power when we appear here. And we are normally, consumers are very happy because they are able to hear about the current token pricing. First of all, let me mention, on July 1st, we reduced the cost of power a little bit. And that was not unknown. It's because it was scheduled to be reduced. In every July, there's going to be reduction for the next 4 years. It started in July 2023. We reduced a little bit. And then in July 2024, we've reduced a little bit. But just cents, you might not even notice. And why it doesn't make sense to us is because you might reduce the base tariff itself, but then increase the cost of fuel, the fuel energy charge, and the forex. So those are the things that make power expensive. Now, currently, for this month, for 1,000, those people who use less than 30 units, they are getting 50 units, 50 tokens, or 49.93. I know
for 1,000 shillings.
For 1,000 shillings.
If you use less than?
If your monthly usage is less than 30 kilowatt hours or 30 tokens, you will, for every 1,000, you will get 49.93, which is around 50. If you are between 30 to 100, you will get 39.61. You might realize that those are about 40.
So are you saying that the more power you use,
the more expensive you pay? Then if you are using over 100, kilowatt hours, once you purchase for 1,000, you will get 35.32 units or 35 units. So basically, that is what you get. So that is the cost of power currently. You're getting. Sorry.
Explain to me this.
City doesn't like this thing.
He doesn't understand this thing.
No, he doesn't.
No. This logic.
I think he doesn't like it because if you're spending more and using more,
yes,
you should pay
less. I should get a discount. I mean, why is it that somebody who is hardly using it is the one who's getting the benefit?
You see what happens?
What's the logic?
The actual cost of power is not whatever. Like for example, let me mention the tariffs. The one who uses less than 30 units the cost that goes to Kenya Power, leave alone the pass-through, is 12.23. The other one, 30 to 100, is 16.54. Then the last one is 19.08 over 100. Now, the actual cost is 19.08. Anything less is subsidized. You get?
No, I don't.
So, because the less you use, I'm not saying this because I support, I'm only saying the less you use means in Kenya you are doing, you are a bit
Constrained.
You are a bit constrained. So the government comes, not the government actually, let me say Kenya Power itself. It comes to assist you to do other things. You divert money to elsewhere, either food or something. But this person who is using more than 100 means they are a bit comfortable, so they cannot be subsidized. And that's the reason why you see the more you use, the more you pay, because it shows that you have more money. So it cannot be subsidized. So the actual cost of it means that even these people who are paying 12 shillings before you add the pass-throughs, it simply means that those people have actually been assisted. If we are to load the actual cost of power, they would be paying 19 shillings plus the pass-through.
So here I am, I have industry.
Yes.
You're talking of 100.
Yes.
Maybe the units I'm using are 1,000. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to pay more than all the other people. And yet, if I were to just look at simple, just basic logic, I'm like a wholesaler. I am buying this product that you're selling in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me that when I buy in bulk, I pay more.
Now, it happens that those three categories are for domestic consumers. When you go to industrial, those who use three-phase, your case applies that the more you buy, the less you pay. And not actually the more you buy, but the higher voltage you are connected to. Now, it doesn't come to the more you buy the units, it's the connection voltage. Because for those people who are connected on 415, they pay more than those people who have been connected on 11,000 kV. Then those who are connected to 33,000 kV, 33,000 volts or 33 kV, they pay less. You go to 66, they pay less. And then you go to CI5, those people who are connected at 132, those pay even less because they pay a cost of, those on CI5, they pay 11.4 as compared to those who are on CI1,
so,
who are 19.
Wouldn't the logic behind that then be that because they are actually producing,
Yes.
And they have to see that their input towards manufacture has to then be low,
yes,
in order for them to be able to realize a profit at the end of the day? But I'm with CT on this one because in the household, the assumption is that if you're using more power, the assumption is that you have more appliances, and that as a result of that, you're better off than me who just has the light to put on. You know, but then wouldn't the same thing apply whereby in order for my output to be 1, 2, 3, I'm going to, this other person has to use the freezer, is going to use the iron and all of that. Naturally, I'm going to consume more. So wouldn't it be worth my while to have the price unit lowered?
Let me start by saying that there are two views. The views I have presented is for the Kenya Power. The view of the people that I represent, those are the electricity consumers. Of course, it's the logic that you are using that we really push for. That the more you use, the more actually you are assisting Kenya Power. And the more you are even growing the economy. You should be buying at a cheaper price. But then they face you with this issue that even those people who are paying the amount they are paying, it's because it has been subsidized. So they say we cannot subsidize for those people who are doing well in an effort to show them that they are actually consuming more, so they should pay less. But the discussion actually is what you are saying. So
a question is coming up, and it's quite one, because here we are looking at tokens and just using 1,000 shillings as a benchmark for how much you spend on power. And 1,000 shillings, 50 tokens, if you're in a particular bracket, is that going to take you through for about a month, depending on what you're doing? Maybe less?
For 1,000?
Yeah.
If you're getting
50 tokens if you're in that bracket.
Yeah, because basically it means that you are consuming less than 30 units per month.
All right.
So basically that is enough.
Is it cheaper to be on postpaid or on a token prepaid service?
There's no single difference.
Really?
The cost is the same. That should be very clear. The cost is the same. The metering is what is different. Yes.
How?
this one, the problem is...
is metering not what determines what you pay?
Exactly. Isn't the metering determining how the cost of your power?
We've talked about the people, we've talked about the grouping, 0 to 30, 30 to 100, and 100 plus.
Yeah.
Even if you're having a token or you're having a postpaid meter, the pricing is the same. The challenge that comes is when you need to go and read you either have to read the units and send to Kenya Power so that you can be billed, or they come and read, or they can get late as a result, or they approximate. In such a case, you might find that you are paying less. But the day they will come and tell you have actually read the actual units, you might find your bill, you are used to paying 3,000, then you find a bill of 40,000. Why? Because they have been approximating, and yet you tend to think that might be cheaper than the token. But I like the token one because it is an instant and you agree with them before you use. This other one you use and then they come later and then you realize maybe I shouldn't have used anyway.
So if it's used, why is it an approximation? Because one would assume you use the power, we bill you according to what you've used, you pay for it essentially after having used it. Why should it be an approximation? Is it not clear that, okay, fridge was on for 24 hours or how many hours over this 30-day period? It's very clear what you did because there is a meter, the meter reading. Why is that an approximation?
It's because they may not come to read the actual readings on the meter. So they assume this person has been spending like 3,000, 2,000. So if we bill them 3,200, we'll have covered before we go and read. But then maybe you are consuming more, and so the approximation is not accurate.
Or less.
Or less also. It also happens that even less. But now the challenge is that they don't like, the cost of power has been increasing. So if they bill you 3,000, maybe because of the change of cost of power.
Why has the cost been increasing, Ndereva?
It has been increasing because remember, in April of 2023, the cost almost doubled. And
yes, why?
There was public participation. I know every time I say that, people don't believe. There was public participation because Kenya Power and EPRA, they wanted to say that we are proposing that we increase the cost of power from this to this. And then we had nationwide public participation. And of course, we even presented our own opinion and it was not listened to and we went to court. But now, either way, it was increased. That's why I'm saying the cost of power in 2022 is different from 2023.
I understand all that.
Yes.
I am saying, or let me ask it differently.
Yes.
Are you saying that those who run this particular entity decide that they are going to increase the power? Surely there must be reasons why they've made that decision. What happened? Did it overflood? Was there not enough water?
Okay.
Was there not enough sun? Did the geothermal not thermal? I mean, what is it that happened? And what is the logic beyond the government simply wanting to get more money? Forget that one aside. What else?
It would be even unfair for me to talk on their behalf because I remember we even went to court. But they shouldn't mind because we dropped the case either way. We dropped the case because we saw the issues have been overtaken by events. What we were complaining about, they have actually doubled, tripled until we even thought, why are we going to court? Now, but what the reasons they gave as the reason why they were increasing the cost of power. Number one, they were saying during the Uhuru Kenyatta last 8 months, power had been reduced drastically in January of 2020.
The generation of power?
No, not the generation, the cost.
Of power had been reduced?
It had been reduced. And it increased during the... Now, it was now changed in April of 2023. So you see, if someone was approximating that you need to be paying 3,000 before elections, and then they approximate up to date as 3,000, the cost of power might have doubled. So when they come and read the actual unit, they will say, these 3,000 you are approximating only catered for, had been catering for 60 units previously. But since now the cost of power has changed, now that your 3,000 had been catering for maybe 20 units. Yes. So these are the units you've not paid. So as a result, we are billing you like 40,000 for all this, whatever is spending. So that has been the challenge with the people again. And whatever we have been saying is that the cost at which you should be charged, those approximation, should not be the current cost because some of those units were spent or used or utilized when power was cheaper. So the issue here has been, how do we tell Kenya Power that these units were used when the cost of power was this amount? Why should you charge me at the current cost, yet I had utilized it a bit earlier? That has been the debate that we've been pushing for. But of course, they also say that how do we know that it had been used that time? But we also tell them...
Wait a moment. If they don't know, then who knows?
Who should know? Is it not in their system?
You see, they
They're
have
the-
not
they're
been
the ones-
reading the meter.
No,
So
but-
they have also, they read the meter in 2022 December. They have come to read the meter now and realize that we've been billed you about 1,200 units cumulatively, but you had actually consumed 2,000. So we bill you once. What is the cost that they will bill you those extra? It will be the current cost. Yet maybe in 2022, the cost was cheaper.
But I don't see a problem here because if the billing is now being determined by, you say, one approximation,
Yes.
but you've already paid,
Yes.
then they come around to now determine what you should pay currently, and they realize that what the estimation was
Yes.
was less than what you actually consumed. Okay?
Yes.
So we are saying that because this thing was consumed in the past,
Yes.
the price should be what the cost was in the past.
In the past.
And yet you're saying that they are charging me current rate.
The current rate.
I see.
That is the complaint that we've been having. And it is with many. But let me tell you something else that, of course, one, I am happy that we had some cabinet reshuffle.
Why?
But the reshuffle should not have started with even the cabinet. We have very many problems in the sector. Number one, let me even explain a situation that you can even...
You're going to explain to me why it is you're happy about the reshuffle and how it affects power prices, but
Yes.
anyway, go on.
Yes. Now, number one, right now, I will give you a small story. During the Energy Act 2019, when it became a law, there were very many regulations that were supposed to be changed. And the person who was supposed to be changing that was EPRA. They developed 19 regulations. Now, those 19 regulations were supposed to be were put on the desk of the CS. The CS that time was Charles Ketera. Then we brought in Monica Juma. Then from there we brought in Davis Chirchir. Now, the reason why those regulations have been pending is because they are waiting for someone to come and explain clearly what is this that I am supposed to append my signature to. But then who is supposed to explain to them? If you look at it, I'm not sure it's going to be the PS. Why? Because the PS has not done engineering or anything that is supposed to be related to that. If you come to who is supposed to, again, explain other than the PS, it's supposed to be the Director General of EPRA. Again, that person has not done engineering. Yet these regulations were developed by engineers. So who is this engineer who is going to explain to the CS? Now imagine if the CS was an engineer. It would have been easy for him to say, oh, this one I understand. So 19 regulations are pending. To date, even if you go. Now, okay, let me just be a bit better in explaining that. Four have been approved. The 3 of them are related to petroleum. Why were they approved? Because it is easy to understand money. It was something to do with adjusting the price of petroleum products.
Yeah.
Anything to do with the power, they do not understand. The one that was signed recently, about a week or so, is the net metering regulations. And it has nothing to benefit these consumers. The other balance of, I think is about 15. They are still lying there. Go and read. I was involved in developing most of them. We were actually the people who are proofreading them and saying this is okay. But now, the CS will not understand, the PS will not understand,
Okay.
the Director General maybe most likely is not going to understand.
When it's first presented,
Yes.
there are things they may not understand, but they can read and write.
Yes.
One would hope.
No, they do. Now,
do.
Kenya Power and that industry has very many engineers.
Yes.
Many.
Who will be allowed to go near the CS?
Are you telling me that
Yes.
the CS doesn't have somebody who can actually explain to them and say, this thing
Even
that
if
we
they're
want
not
you to say-
technical.
They should have signed then tell me. Because the reason we were given is because some people are supposed to go and explain so that it can be approved. But listen, those are the same. Remember, by the way, this is a very funny country. Why we were changing the Energy Act, it's because we had introduced the counties. And so there were some responsibilities given to the counties in terms of energy efficiency, this power thing. But then it took a whole from 2013 to 2019. That is the time we brought in these laws. Remember, even we normally have
I'm
even.
interested in this. So
Yes.
what exactly was the county participation in all this?
For example, even now, the counties have got energy department.
Okay.
They have Department of Energy and all that. People in charge of energy. They even have energy officers who are employed. But what are they supposed to do? They do not know because those regulations have not been signed.
Okay, according to regulations, what were they supposed to be doing?
For example, like this is a standard group.
Yes,
Standard
it
Group,
is.
for example, you are supposed to carry out an energy audit, for example. Those energy audits are supposed to ensure that you reduce your consumption in terms of you become more energy efficient. There are things that they are going to tell you. They change here, this is what you need to do, then training for the staff and such, so that you can become more energy efficient. Who is supposed to ensure that that is done? It is the county in Nairobi, because EPRA themselves, EPRA doesn't have enough staff to keep on coming around to tell you that. So it's the county that was supposed to assist in implementation. But what happened? They also are waiting, and they don't even understand. In fact, the other time I was trying to discuss with my friend Robert Alai. He told me that the things they need to do as county is maybe replace generators or put generators in the different offices where you may not have power. Then I asked him, is that all that you do as an energy committee? Then he explained about street lighting, blah, blah, blah. So I listened. He never mentioned anything to do with energy efficiency, which is actually the key. In this era of climate change, a county energy committee cannot be talking about how to assist the consumers about energy efficiency.
Let's talk about energy.
And those are the regulations on the table anyway.
Okay, so that we understand it. Let's put regulations on someone's table. They haven't been signed. That I've understood. Now, if we were to apply what was required, say, for an institution such as this one,
yes,
what would it involve? We are using electricity, I can see.
Yes.
So what do we need to do to be efficient?
There are many things. You're asking me to do an audit. I will give you one.
Yes, I'm asking you to explain to me how it works.
For example, if you are in the washrooms and there is nobody there, and there is light throughout, you can put motion sensors such that if you are out, the bulb goes off. Yeah. That is just one as an example. There are very many in terms of machines that you can do, and they are supposed to assist the consumer so that you don't feel the pinch. Much as the cost of power is expensive, you will use less power, yet you still have the same comfort that you have.
So if, let's say, hypothetically, I supplemented this power with, say, solar power,
yes,
would that also qualify as an attempt by the organization to be efficient?
No, that is not being efficient. That is just an alternative energy source. You can still use that power from solar inefficiently.
Yes. But what if, again, hypothetically, it costs me more or it costs me less? Meaning, when I have solar and I look at the usage and I look at what I pay and I compare it with this geothermal thing, no, this is not geothermal, this hydropower, okay? If it turns out to be less, is that not being efficient? If it's
That's
costing
not
me
being
less,
efficient.
What?
In auditing terms, that is an alternative energy source.
So cost saving is not efficiency.
No, cost saving is not efficient.
You can't have a cost-efficient mode of power?
You can, but where you're driving me to is to say that solar is a good source or cheap. It is not cheap.
No, I don't want you to say that. I want to understand.
Yes.
Because there are all these things that we refer to as different power. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
It is, when you say efficiency, this is me trying to understand efficiency. There are people who are listening. Right now, you're around 2,500 people who are listening to you on YouTube.
Yes.
I need them to understand when you say efficiency, what you mean. Because in my mind, efficiency meant it costs me less. Okay? And I end up still benefiting from the power I have.
And I have it every day.
And I have it every day. But what you've said is, when I don't need it and it isn't there, meaning I have a sensor, that's efficiency. Yeah, but again, it will cost me less, won't it?
In auditing terms, there is something called cost reduction measure. Cost reduction measure could be you are going for a cheaper source. But there is energy conservation measure. You are conserving energy. Whatever energy you have, you are using less.
You see,
it can cost less.
It will cost less.
It can cost less. But remember, you might be in the bracket of those people who are paying expensive because they are over 100, but you still use less in an attempt to make sure that you come to a lower bracket. That will eventually may lead to less.
I've got that one. Yes. Now tell me, are there cheaper sources of power really?
For individual investment or personal investment?
No, just across board.
Oh, across board. They are, of course. Like, for example, people are asking me, I was in a different meeting and people are asking me, we had quite a bit of rainfall around April, May. Did we have cheaper cost of power? I told them no. They asked why. and yet we expect that the thermal generation had reduced. I said the cartels in this country cannot allow that. Why? Because I will tell you in terms of figures. We were doing around 12.7 million kilowatt hours from thermal, an average for the first and for the last 3 quarters. Now, in the first quarter of September to December of 2023, if you look at the average, what we got from hydro, it had increased by 90 million kilowatt hours. You know, that is not less. So you would expect to knock off what we were generating using thermal or diesel.
And we didn't do that.
We didn't do that. Why? Because you would have expected that geothermal would remain the same. But now what they did, these cartels, is that geothermal was reduced by 74.4 million.
Okay.
When water level rises, you generate more using hydro. Instead of knocking off the diesel, they intentionally reduce the geothermal.
To
that
what
is
end?
the analysis.
So that
To what end?
The diesel is privately.
You know, diesel, what we came to realize is that Kenya Power pays diesel generators, those people, who even when they are not producing.
That is the contract they signed.
Yeah, that is a contract. And it is not us who pay. It is Kenya Power. But of course, we've been in charge using the tariffs or something.
Of course.
When they were setting the tariffs, they have factored in that capacity charge. But you see, they wouldn't mind if they are sharing that capacity charge with the consumers. So what do? They won't let all the thermal generators lie idle because they will be asked to pay. So what they do, they will let them generate such that it can be distributed among the fuel cost charge. So what do? If we have too much power, what they did, and these are figures that we have in our offices, is that when the hydro generation was more, they reduced the geothermal generation. And that was intentional, so that they maintained the same level of production using diesel.
You know, there's a question I want to ask here.
Yes.
It may not be something. It may not be something you're able to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yes.
Are we able to generate power that can sustain the demand and the usage of it in the country without these diesel-powered power generators?
Exactly. We can. I have just said we've been doing an average of 12 million kilowatt hours. Now, we have hydro that has risen by 90 million kilowatt hours. Of course, that has knocked it off. So what did they do? Instead of maintaining the geothermal at the same level, they reduced by 74 million. What does that tell you? That you can completely knock off the 12 million very easily. So we have enough. We have enough and more than enough.
Are we going to come to a place, what would it take? Because right now, to consume power in Kenya at whatever level,
yes,
whether it's on a personal level or it's at a commercial level,
yes,
is expensive.
It is.
It is very expensive. Yes. What needs to happen? I mean, I know you talk about cartels and the IPPs. Everybody wants to make their own cuts there and get their own shilling there, and the cartels that you speak about. But what needs to happen in order for affordable power then to be made available in Kenya today?
Okay. You're asking whether if I am named the CS today.
Well, I didn't ask
what
that,
I
but
would
let's
do.
go with that.
All right.
Yes.
Sure.
That's a good...
If you, Isaac Ndereva, were the CS Energy today,
yes,
how would you make power cheaper in Kenya?
I will make power cheaper in this way. I would knock off some of the pass-through costs, which are actually 7. We have fuel cost charge, we have forex charge. I would basically say I don't want any contract done in foreign currency. If you don't feel like doing business with the Kenyan currency, pack and go. So I would remove forex. Fuel cost charge, I am sure we can do without diesel plants, other than the ones that are in Mombasa, Rabai and Kipevu 3. There is a reason for us to have those ones. But these others, Gulf Power, Triumph Power, around here in Nairobi, they have no job. I would knock that off. So again, that cost of fuel energy charge, I would get something.
How much have you reduced now? You've removed forex. You've removed.
I have so far removed like 4 shillings.
Okay, 4 shillings already.
Yes, I've removed like 4 shillings. Then from there, I would do away with this rural electrification program. That is stealing. Why? Because we've been deducted 5% of our cost on each unit because they need to get that money and go to extend to rural electrification. Have you heard somewhere that we are still doing rural electrification? Have you heard anywhere that we are still being connected to power using 1,000 Kenya shillings like it was Kitambo? So rural electrification program, I would remove that. When it comes to VAT, I would say that these people, for the power that has been used by industry, they are paying VAT on the products and all the rest. I would try to subsidize the VAT for them. That is another component. Then these other things like EPRA, I mean, that is a government agency, we know, because we are paying them 0.8, we are paying them 8 cents, 0.08, and they increased from 0.03 without them mentioning from July last year. They didn't even the Gazette. I would remove that and say that is one entity that will need to be paid by the government, the ministry directly. In fact, remember, they're also getting money from the fuel. So they have a lot of money, yet they are not protecting the consumers who are paying them. So I would remove that cost off. I don't think there is any other major cost that would be there. And I would have removed the bills by about 7 shillings.
If you did that, then we would see significantly lowered rates of power.
That would be, and then I would go to the base tariff. I would go and tell Kenya Power, now, why are you charging us this amount? They will tell me this is the reason. Number one, we are buying this from Lake Turkana at this cost. And because, like for example, we are importing power from Ethiopia. And that has become a significant amount nowadays. We bought that power at, I think, 6.5 US cents, which is now around 8 shillings, I guess. We have many sources that are 4 shillings.
Okay.
Yeah. So and we have signed that for 25 years. So I would do those changes. But you see, the people who are always put there to be in charge of those decision making are the ones that do not want to make those decisions, because there are a lot of cartels in the energy industry.
I hear you.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see those prices actually go down. Isaac, we also have to thank you for being here this morning to just shed some light into some of these matters, which we cannot stop but to discuss. Asante Sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.